Welcome to the Investor Den Blueprint to Financial Freedom podcast, where we dive deep into the minds of the biggest and most successful entrepreneurs, passive income investors, and capital raisers in the world. Our mission is to equip you with the essential tools, the mindset, and the skill sets necessary to conquer yourself, transform your life, and master your finances. Join us as we unravel the secrets and the strategies and wisdom of these industry experts, providing you with the invaluable insights and action steps that you can start implementing today. It's time to reclaim control of your time, allowing you to live a life of unrivaled success, happiness, and fulfillment. Get ready to unlock a world of growth and abundance that awaits you. Welcome to the Investor Den Blueprint to Financial Freedom podcast, where your journey towards financial empowerment begins. All right, so welcome to another episode of the Investor Den Blueprint to Financial Freedom podcast with your host, Jorge Fajardo, and sponsored by KPI Capital Partners. And today we have a very, very special guest. It's someone that we've been talking to for quite a while now, several months, about high-level investment strategies, and we're actually looking to do some very, very cool things in collaboration with KPI Capital Partners with some of the ongoing projects we have in order to further benefit our investors. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ian Lahde to the show. Welcome, Ian. How are you today?
Hey, George. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm doing amazing. How are you doing?
Fantastic, man. And I'm actually even better now that we finally got a chance to get together here on the show. I know it's been a long coming. We've been talking about it for quite some time, and as things go, right, between scheduling conflicts and just things coming up, it's been a while that we finally got a chance to connect here on the show. So I'm glad that you were able to make it on today. But let's go ahead and jump right into it, because you have a lot of very interesting strategies. But before we even get into that, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what it is that you do, what you specialize in.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks again for having me on the show, George. Really appreciate it. As George mentioned, I focus on very high level strategies, and not high level in the sense that it's super complex or, not easy for people to understand, but it's a little more advanced, if you will, than what most people realize is even available to them, out there today. So what I do is I actually specialize in educating people on alternative retirement plans or alternative vehicles for them to put a portion of either their savings or investments or money away into, right? That most people don't even know exist. So the ultra wealthy people, right, the 0.01%, if you will, they've been using vehicles like this for years and years, right, decades, if you will. And the thing is, they're available to everybody, whether you're making $50,000 a year at a W-2 job or you're making $5 million a year as an entrepreneur. They're available to everybody. There's just an education gap between the ultra wealthy and then the other 99.999% of us, right?
Yeah.
So I pride myself on bringing these vehicles to everybody, closing that education gap, and just letting people know that, hey, these are options that are available to you, even though you don't know that they exist, or it's not what you've always been told by everybody that you've listened to for financial advice.
Yeah, and you hit the nail right on the head, because it's you always hear the terms, the secret that the ultra wealthy use, and in reality, it shouldn't be a secret, and it's really not. It's just having the right access to the information, and then just informing yourself enough as an investor, as the consumer, for lack of a better term, as to how these different vehicles work and how they can benefit you. And that's something that we talk about, every single day here in Investor Den, which is how to create wealth, how to multiply your money and make your money work for you instead of you working for your money, and exchanging your time for money. Because as we know, really, time is really the most valuable asset we have, and it's the one thing we can't get back. And so what you want to do is be able to apply intelligent strategies, high level strategies that actually help you multiply your money exponentially in a really profound way. And it wasn't until I met you that I really started learning about these specific strategies. For someone that's been doing what I do for almost for over 20 years, and I've heard about these type of strategies, but you're the first to really explain it to me in the depth that you have. And so to basically jump right into it, we're talking about IULs. And when I first heard about it, I have a whole life insurance policy, but that's just a basic policy, compared to what you offer. And so if you can explain in just sort of layman's terms, quick to easy to understand terms, what exactly is an IUL and what does it do?
Yeah, absolutely, George. So, the thing with what I do and the products that, I help, whether it's an investor or just a 9 to 5 employee, learn about, really, like, the thing is, there's a misconception in every industry, right? It doesn't matter what industry you're in. People hear the industry, whether it's real estate or financial advising or insurance, and they automatically, their brain goes somewhere and they're like, oh, well, insurance. Oh, I don't know what that is. That's, I don't need insurance, right? Especially if you talk to someone in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s even, they're like, I don't need insurance, right? Or life insurance, if you will, because I don't plan on dying anytime soon. But what people don't realize is there are ways to use certain vehicles. It's an unorthodox approach, but there are ways to use life insurance products out there, right, for the investment benefits of it. We're not necessarily doing it for the life insurance. And you mentioned you have a whole life policy, right? And look, there are certain whole life policies that have a cash value, of course, right? But when people hear insurance or life insurance, if you will, they just automatically think, I'm not planning on dying anytime soon. I don't need that. Right. So we got to get ourselves in our, I try to help people get out of that thinking of, or that mindset of, like, they only think it's so that they're covered in case they die. What I like to say, and it sounds kind of silly, but the product is life insurance. We want to use it while we're alive. If we were just using it for when we die, it would be called death insurance.
That's true. That's great. That's amazing.
Think about it, right? It's life insurance, right? So certain products out there, such as the IUL, such as properly structured cash value whole life insurance, right? You can benefit from it while you're alive, and knock on wood, God forbid anything ever happens to you, your family's also protected, right? From a financial standpoint. So when it comes to just a very top level on how these products work, specifically an IUL, right? The reason investors use them and the reason, wealthy people use them is because it's a place where you can pretty much grow your money with no taxes, right? Tax-free, if you will. And that's because the IRS has a tax code, which is 7702. And without getting too nitty-gritty here, it states that any interest earned in a life insurance vehicle is non-taxable. So savvy investors use that to their benefit because, of course, right? Who wouldn't want to grow their money tax-free? So the tax-free growth is the huge and probably the most important benefit for a lot of people. But at the same time, when it comes to investing in real estate or investing in the stock market or other asset classes, people that are a real estate investor, for example, are able to use vehicles like this to leverage the same bucket of money in multiple places at once. Now, the IUL, for example, right, has so many benefits when it comes to loaning against your cash value or becoming your own bank. Some of you might have heard of the infinite banking concept or become your own bank, stuff like that. And all that means really is that because of the type of vehicle this is.
Hi there, Investor Den. I know you're enjoying the episode, but I have an important message I want to share with you. If you've been following the podcast for a while, then it means one of two things. One, you aspire to have it all. You want to unlock your potential across all areas of your life and achieve true freedom, physically, mentally, and financially. And two, you're an investor or an aspiring investor, and you have chosen to use passive income as your wealth creation vehicle to achieve financial freedom. Well, I have something exciting to share with you. We have put together an incredible resource called the Blueprint to Financial Freedom ebook. In this book, we will show you the same strategies that we've used in our own business to grow from an initial investment of only $1,000 to an impressive 8-figure portfolio with assets under management. In it, you'll discover how to acquire cash flowing assets, how to generate 6-figure passive income, and even how to access the capital you need to kickstart your investment journey. This ebook is packed with practical tips, step-by-step guidance, and real-life examples that will empower you to take control of your financial future. And the best part, it's absolutely free. So take a moment to click the link in the description below and grab your copy of the Blueprint to Financial Freedom ebook. It's time to take charge of your financial destiny. We're excited to join you on this journey to financial freedom. Now, let's get back to the episode.
You're able to borrow all of the money in the policy, 100% of every single dollar you have in the policy, and use it for whatever investment outside of the policy, for example, buying a piece of real estate. But while you're using it outside of the policy, you still earn uninterrupted interest on the full amount, the full account value, as if you didn't take a single dollar out of the policy. Now, if you
let me stop you there, because that's a huge point. I mean, when I first learned that, it's like, like all these light bulbs went off, because
Right.
If you really stop and you think about that, where you're able to lend money to yourself from your policy while it's still going to continue to earn interest as if the money was still there. So you could borrow against it 100% of the cash value. So you can take that money and invest it somewhere else. But that policy is still going to continue to accrue interest as if you never took that money out.
Correct.
And then on top of that, you have the tax benefits because you're using debt essentially along with the insurance benefit of it. So if you really start to think about it, you're layering multiple strategies onto one more robust strategy that has layers and layers and layers of benefits all at the same time, while compounding the same dollar in different buckets and exponentially growing that money and growing your wealth.
Exactly. Very exactly. You said it. You said it just as good as I would say it, George. And here's the thing, right? Savvy investors, they are constantly looking for ways to turn $1 into $2 into $4 into 8, and multiply their money that way, right? Now, throwing a vehicle like a cash value life insurance policy into the mix, right? They're not changing anything they're doing. They're not changing the way they buy real estate. They're not changing any of that, right? They're just adding another tool, right, to their toolbox, which is multiplying their money even faster, right, and safer than if they didn't have this, in their portfolio. So the thing is, right, when you're an investor, right, you're trying to obviously grow your money as quick as possible, but also as safe as possible. And the IUL, for example, right, on top of having the ability to borrow against it and leverage your money in same bucket of money in two places at once, right? You also have a lot of other benefits, such as no stock risk. So it's an IUL actually stands for Indexed Universal Life, right? So keyword indexed. When most people hear index, they think of, stock market, right? Indexed. But here's the thing. With traditional type of retirement accounts, like a 401k, an IRA, and a 403b, those are also indexed accounts, right? It's tied to the market and it moves up and down with the market. Now, with an IUL, you take out the going down part, right? When the market goes down, because you actually have something called a floor within the IUL policy. So investors also use vehicles like this because not only is their money growing for them and working for them and growing tax-free at that, but it's protected on the downside. So you get to a point when you invest, right, where it's not all about how much money you can make, but it's also about how much money you can keep, right? And so when you take out the downside of the part of the equation, people prefer to have their money in places where it's a little bit less risky. Now, if you put all your money in an individual stock or in an ETF, right, you don't have a crystal ball and I don't have a crystal ball, George, right? And neither does Warren Buffett. No one knows where the money's going to go. No one knows how the market's going to fluctuate, move up and down. And if we did, we'd all be multi-trillionaires. But the point is, right, this is a safe alternative to have your money growing for you at a pretty aggressive, rate of interest, but also have the ability to leverage it, use it while it's growing outside of the policy, and tax-free at that. So, like I said, the main reason that people would even consider a vehicle like this is so they get the tax-free growth and that they can borrow against it, right, at any time. And, there's no penalties, no taxes, and no fees when borrowing against it. And I don't know if you've ever tried borrowing out of a 401k or a traditional retirement type account.
It's a
But
nightmare.
it is like pulling teeth. It is like jumping through hoops, trying to access that money. And I'll leave it at this. Savvy investors do not lock their money up for 20, 30, 40 years where it's not accessible.
Liquidity. Yep.
Right. Liquidity is a huge thing when it comes to being a savvy investor, right? And if you don't have the money on hand and readily accessible within a moment's notice when opportunity strikes, well, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I mean, you hit on so many points. There's so much here to unpack. And I know that we're running short on time now. This is why we decided to make this a 4-part series, because honestly, we would be sitting here for a couple hours. And you and I have had conversations for multiple hours on end talking about different strategies. And so, on the next part of our series, I really want to go deeper into how to leverage your retirement accounts, your 401ks, your IRAs, self-directed IRAs, Roth IRAs, and what the benefit is to rolling this into a vehicle like this, such as an IUL. Because as you mentioned, I mean, how many of us who were around in 2008? I mean, I know people that lost 60% of their 401k value. And they were, unfortunately, I'll say pulling their hairs, but there were some people that, were making a lot more drastic decisions because they were in such despair because they saw their entire life savings basically disappear. And so that's a really big topic that I want to touch on. And as we go into, the later parts of the series, I want to discuss specific strategies that we're using with our investors and our funding partners as to how we're showing them how they can leverage this and really exponentially multiply their wealth and their return, their ROI. Definitely stay tuned for the next few parts coming in the upcoming days and weeks. And Ian, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy. We talked about all the things that you're into, so I know that it's a big deal for you to take time out of your day to join us and share all this information with our audience. So I really appreciate it, and we'll definitely see you, on the next few parts. Now, real quick, how can people reach out to you? How can they learn more about this if they want to talk to you directly?
Yep. So I believe my email is going to be somewhere on the screen or in the description here. So you can reach out to me via email. That's probably the best way to make initial contact. I'll also leave some contact information as well for George to include in the description of this podcast. But email, phone number. I'm pretty informal when it comes to forms of communication. So really, the easiest way, whatever your preferred method is, I'll definitely find a way to get back to you.
That's awesome. And guys, as you continue to follow this 4-part series, you're going to really see why you're going to want to reach out to Ian as soon as possible. So, all right, Ian, well, thank you so much. And we'll see you in the next part of our series.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, George.
All right. Take care, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hey there, awesome listeners of Investor Den's Blueprint to Financial Freedom podcast. We just wanted to take a moment to express our immense gratitude for allowing us to be a part of your journey towards becoming a successful investor and living your best life. If you found this episode valuable, please share with a friend who's interested in generating wealth through passive income and wants to achieve greatness in all areas of life. And if you really loved it, feel free to share it on your social media as a post or a story. As a thank you, we have a special gift for those who help spread our message. And if you share this episode, simply send me a message on any of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and let me know. You'll receive a special surprise as a token of our appreciation. And once again, thank you for being a part of our podcast family. Stay tuned for more episodes packed with valuable insights and strategies. Together we'll unlock financial freedom and create a community of empowered individuals.